hour cardio and then 30 minutes of weights and an hour of cardio. But it was fun. It was definitely a learning experience. And did that for like maybe a year, 2 years. And around that same time, I started like going on to like Instagram and shit. I didn't really have an Instagram or really any social media growing up. So, when I was out of the house and could finally get those things, I kind of started to see like more unconventional body types and other like unconventional lifestyles. And it was either Dana and Bailey or Kristen Nunn. I forget which I saw first. That sort of was like, wow, like that's like what I want to look like. And that's basically like how I got started.
Well, Dana Bailey is a very popular person that a lot of ladies mention, especially after the bodybuilding path, because she was very mainstream, likable. She had a great look to her, even though she no longer competes. She was the first physique Miss Olympia, and she no longer competes. She runs a business. She still stays active on social media. Kristen Nunn, that's a lady, she amazing physique, but never competed the bodybuilder. I don't know. There's thoughts that she might be doing it sometime soon, or she's just been really just kind of just, like it's Kevin Hart's skit. I remember we talking about this guy who's in the gym. He just building muscles, and he just don't know what to do when he's like he works at T-Mobile. Says, "Welcome to T-Mobile." I broke it down, boss. Take it on my check. But yeah, everybody find your path in it. I understand dealing with the COVID area, the corona, because my mother, she died. I was taking care of for a long time. It broke my heart because she was my woman. Here we got here. Shout out to my man, KL the Wonder says, good evening. Good evening to you, brother. Also, this is Ryan Lake coming through. He says, hello. Hello, Ryan. Also, my man KL says, she looks like she stuck to the books growing up. So, yeah, were you a very studious young lady when you're coming up, when you went to school?
Uh, well, my parents wanted me to. But no, I was not. I did not apply myself very well in middle school and high school. But I did. I did come out of it okay.
I can understand that. I was in high school. I just got by, and I played football too. I played football for a little bit. Love sports. Some people school's not for everybody. Sometimes you get out of it. You go to work. That's what I did. I worked. I went back for a little bit here and there. But that's all I mostly do because my family workers. We had here from John Ballard coming through. Hello, John. He says, "Hey, bro, how you doing, bro?" Also, this is from our man KL. He says, "Check out Pumping Iron 2, Vicky, if you haven't seen it." Yes, that is a classic. It is
Yep.
the movie that really, if you ever seen it, it's the
Yeah. I've seen
story.
it.
Yeah, yeah, because legends come out. We had Richard Lesh. You had Carla Dunlap. That was the debut of Beth Francis. I
Mhm.
mean, that is a great movie. I've seen it many times. I kind of like the part where you see Bev in uh in a Carla getting massages. I'm sorry, Vicky, I have a preclusion. I have a particular type of personality, and I am also a muscle person. Smell y'all ladies excite me. so, so you're planning on competing next year. So, what are the divisions are you looking at? Are you just looking at one or a couple? So you think you might want to try?
I'm looking at women's physique and bodybuilding.
Well, we can most definitely, like I said, with physique, this is a strong division. It's been around. I wasn't too much a fan of it when it first came out. I called it watered down women's bodybuilding. But interviewing ladies and coming connections with them, yeah, I have a respect division. But women's bodybuilding, it is the godmother of the sport. I am a fan of it. Is there anybody particular that you follow that you're a fan other than that are right now competing?
They're competing right now.
Yeah, who's competing right now?
Um, I think obviously the best physique in the division right now in women's physique has got to be Sarah Villegas. I think like her balance and conditioning is just like crazy, to be honest. I've never seen it. Like she looks like a anatomy chart from the back. It's crazy, you know. But yeah, I follow Sarah. Um, I follow Alyssa Kissling. I think that's her last name. Um, follow Mandine Colley. Mainly, like I follow like a lot of the athletes in women's physique.
Mhm. Yeah, I follow quite a few ladies, and some of them become friends with. More me, as I said again, I am go always be a fan of women's bodybuilding. People like Sherry Priami, who's been on my channel, Ashley Jones, I'm a fan of hers. One person, you guys know, I can't help myself. I love her. She's gonna be my girlfriend someday, and that is the lovely Miss Andrea Shaw. I mean, she's just when I look at I fanboy about her because she's so beautiful, great physique. Has a great personality about her because so many people tell me about her. You know, I've known people that say, "Hey, she's a great person," and I think she's really the woman that kind of saved the division. You
Yeah,
know, as it was struggling. So yeah, but yeah, those are impressive lineups. Sarah Villegas, who I think she changed the overall look of women's physique because the last champ before her was Shanique Grant, and now Shanique is doing
mhm.
wellness.
Yeah, it's been interesting to see.
Yeah, yeah. I think some people thought she was going to win the show. Now she got sixth place. That's pretty good. So, as a young person, what is your thoughts on bodybuilding as a sport? Because some people don't see it as a sport. Here's the thing about people when you mention bodybuilding to them, all they think about is like these big guys on steroids and it's honored and honored, but there's more to it. And can you elaborate for those who don't understand it?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest issue that bodybuilding as a sport has right now is exposure. Obviously, I think it's better than, what it was once, in the 90s or early 2000s, with social media, with like YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. But, if you go to like a gym, like even if you go to like Powerhouse or like a more, stereotypical bodybuilding gym, right? If you shout out Derek Lunsford's name, right? How many people are going to know who that is, right? But if you shout out the Trend Twins or, some random influencer with like a bajillion followers who's sponsored by Young LA or something, no offense towards that at all, they're going to know who that is, right? And I don't think it's because bodybuilding isn't um, what's the word? Not accessible, but I don't think it's because that people don't want to see it. I just think it's just not being promoted well.
Hmm. That's the thing is like, I think one person I think I must interview one lady, her son told her he wants her to eat like Sam Sulik. He just turned pro, was it about, this past March at the Auto Classic. Guys like Chris Bumstead, he's very popular. Yeah, many of the like I said, many of the other ones I wouldn't know them unless I saw them. But I think those who know the sport follow it because back in the day, I used to remember Bobby used to be on television. He used to be
Mm,
on networks like ESPN and ABC and NBC. But yeah, the problem is promotion. And now there's a new division coming up. Excuse me. I'm not a fan of it. It's supposed to maybe bring in more mainstream attention, but here's how I feel about this. It's going to affect the outlay of the sports later on. Sports like women's bodybuilding physique will probably get pushed out bit by bit. And then those athletes are going to end up looking like what you see now in bikini. You can say, yeah, no, there's none of this, none of this, none of that. But, bodybuilding is a very influential and very infectious sport once you get into it.
mhm. Yeah. No, I very much agree with that. Um, like I kind of understand what the NPC wants to do with Fit Model, right? They want to like increase the number of people that have the NPC card. They want to increase the number of people that are going to be paying for, each division, whether it be novice or, A or B or whatever. And that's to like get more money. And they will be getting more people into the sport. Those people have families, will be going to the events. But that seems like, at least from my understanding, the IFBB and NPC, they want to be a more spectator driven sport, not an athlete driven sport. Because like the people that put the most money into the IFBB and the NPC are the athletes. It's not, from ticket sales or merchandise. It's from the athletes. And I feel like if you want to make the sport go more mainstream, the way you do it isn't to make it look more mainstream. The way you do it is by showcasing, the hard work and dedication of every athlete. It doesn't matter what division, it could be anything from bikini to open. And people can relate with that. They might not relate with being like, 300 pounds, completely like shredded or whatever, but they can definitely relate with like, the mental aspect, right? Like there's a reason why people follow Sam. So we don't follow him because like they want to look like him. or because they think he's sexy or hot or charm. They follow him because like he he seems like a friend, right? He seems like a person you can hang out with. He seems like he has good insights, right? I guess that's what I think.
Yeah, I think y'all two about the same age. That's the thing is, I think with young people, they feel more comfortable talking with someone who's within the age group,
Yeah.
and I think with other people, they just find somebody who has a certain look to them and an attitude about them.
Mhm.
We have here from man John Ballard. He says, uh, "Hey, Vicky Yusuf," and
Hi.
also this is from man K. Ellie says, "It's the same with me. Messed up in high school. Yeah, well, you know, everybody's different." So, folks, while we get Vicky here, we're going to do this. We're going to jump into her IG for a little bit. If you want to follow her, her link in the description of this live stream. We check her out. You know, we support her, project into getting to bodybuilding, and wish her best of luck. But guys, this is why I tell you something. This is a nice young lady. She's old enough to be my daughter. Imagine if this is me, this is my child, and you seen her some strange shit. We're gonna have a problem. Like I said, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. So be respectful. She's a nice lady. So we're gonna jump into her social media for a bit. So you want to follow them, you can follow her, check out her links, and show support and genuine interest. So here is we are here, and what's the regiment like for you training? Or what's like your daily workout?
Like you're talking like my workout split or just like my daily schedule?
Everything.
Yeah. So I'm a late sleeper. I go to bed around like 2, 3 a.m. I wake up at like 11. That's just like my work schedule. Because I work from like 5 to 2 most days. But I'll get to the gym around 2 and I'll do either like a push movement or a pull movement or a leg movement. My split right now it's a 4-day split. It's push, pull, quads and glutes, and hamstrings and calves.
Mhm.
And that's what I've been doing for, let's say, the past 4 months. Yeah.
And what do you do for a living, if you may I ask?
Yeah. So I am a manager at a fast food chain.
Uh, you're a bodybuilder and a manager of a fast food chain. Wow.
Yeah.
And you better not have the munchies, so, especially when you have you're
I
getting the peak.
yeah. I mean, like when I first started working there, the food was great, but there's only so many times you can eat pizza over and over again, and
Yeah,
it'll get old. It'll get old real
yeah,
quick.
yeah. It can do like most people. Like I used to work at a strip club. That was one of my jobs. And guys would come and say, "George, man, you work with all those girls all the night, yeah, yeah, dude. It can sometimes those girls are they can be nice as they need to be, but sometimes they can be not as friendly when they have to be,
Mhm.
because it's a tough job. You have to entertain people and try to make your money at the same time. If it's a good
Mhm.
night, hey, they make good money. If it's a bad night, hey, it's not that great. But yeah, I mean, it's good that you have a job. How long you been doing it?
Coming up in about 2 years. Before I started working at where I work now, I used to work at a pizza restaurant. Well, a different pizza restaurant, more of like I guess like a nicer, bougie, you could call it, restaurant downtown. As a food runner. So like that
Mhm.
was a lot of cardio every day. It was double from like 5 p.m. to 4 a.m. on the weekends.
Yeah, you really that's most jobs that really get you moving. Because I used to work my one of my old jobs. Used to work in textiles. I was on my feet, loading ladies' work, getting the stuff. It wasn't exercise; it was a work. But sometimes it really gets you moving, makes your blood flow a good bit.
Mhm.
Here she's doing a nice bicep shot, guys. What do you feel like is your best physical feature?
Um, Probably my height.
Mhm. And how tall are you?
I'm 5'11".
That's pretty tall. Because, like I said, one thing with that much height, it's going to take a lot more time to put on
Mhm.
size.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the average, I think female bodybuilders like usually someone between, let's say 5'4" to 5 feet, and they can really put on the muscle because the body's so compact.
Mhm.
But I know a friend of mine. Her name is Tina. She's 5'9",
Mm.
and it took her a long time to get to where she's at now, the size and conditioning.
Yeah, I mean, like it's a blessing and a curse, right? I mean, when I found out that Kristen Nunn was really short, I forget how tall. I think she might be 5'1". I was like, what? There's no way. Like she looks like way taller in on Instagram, but it's just Instagram.
Hmm. Well, what I hear sometimes, it's one thing when you see these people in persons, because especially when I went to my first Spider-Man show, I actually saw Andrea there. She was guest posing.
Mm.
And we see him, or I met some ladies that talk to him. We get up close and personal. You see they're all big and huge when you see them in the magazines or on the social media platforms. But when you put them side by side by the everyday person, they're not too small. It's huge body wise, but height they're very short. So I think one of the shortest people is she's now retired. That's Michaela Aycock, and
Yep.
she would put on some crazy muscle, especially for a height. She's just barely 5 feet tall.
I think Michaela might be like, in my opinion, one of the more underrated bodybuilders. Period. In the league, like she doesn't have the best structure, right? But what she was able to do with that was absolutely incredible. And like the conditioning that she brought is like what I think more athletes in women's bodybuilding should be bringing to the table.
Mhm. That's one thing. One problem is that someone don't want to push the limits, because that's the one thing about bodybuilding, that you can push the limits. There's discussions how if you go too far, especially if you're taking gear, performance enhancers, it can give you a little bit more masculine features. You can change the aspects of your body's femininity. That's why someone will eventually they might do a little stuff like get a little Botox or get breast implants or get things that make them feel feminine. But like anything, when you get into a sport, you want to be your best. And again, I often say this: steroids is only the small part of it. PEDs is a very small part of it. If you don't follow your diet, you're not consistent, if you're not disciplined, you can have all the motivation in the world. It can change from when you get one morning, it's raining out, wind is blowing, you say, I'm gonna go to sleep. Or say you get up in the morning, and the same thing again, you say, you know what, I gotta go. I gotta go to the gym. I can't skip this day.
Yeah, for sure. I think I wouldn't say it's a reason why bodybuilding isn't accepted in the mainstream, but it certainly doesn't help. Something that I see, especially like among my generation, is like the whole like science-based lifting thing, which I'm not immediately against. I think we should all be trying to like train better. But when they sort of talk down on pro athletes in bodybuilding, being like, oh, the only reason why you look like that is because you're on gear, is because of your genetics, and they don't acknowledge the fact that, hey, like this person's been training for 10 years. They've been training, in a way that works for their body for 10 years. They're getting the results that you want, but you haven't gotten because like you just started training like 6 weeks ago. I think that can be a very negative influence on people wanting to get into bodybuilding, on people wanting to even follow bodybuilding, because they just see it as like, oh, it's just a competition of who can take the most gear, when it's like not really.
Hmm. I think with some young people, they want everything done quick, fast, in a hurry. But it's
Mm.
not like that. You have to put in the time. You have to put in the work. You have to be persistent, disciplined, and also, be focused. Because I have had discussions quite a few times with both men and women who tell me, George, if they took what I take and don't do what I do, they're not going to look like me. They're not going to be in the condition I am, because I need to train, rest, recover. I need to follow a diet. You can't like eat pizza and then go to the gym and work out, because you know what, you have to be very clean. Like what's your diet like? Like what's like, and also, are you working with a coach and nutritionist?
No, I'm coaching myself basically. Don't have a nutritionist. Um, my diet's just like mainly clean foods. Um, rice, oatmeal, protein powdered chicken, shrimp. If there is a deficit that I need to make up for in a gaining phase, I mean, I'll use like I'll eat like candy or donuts or something, but I try to limit that because I find that sort of like affects me. I think I'm a bit more sensitive some of the more processed foods. Not that they're necessarily bad, but I do feel better when I am running on things that are very simple and easier to digest.
That's being processed because I grew up, like I said, I grew up, my family was sharecropping. We were poor, so it was easy to get that because it's cheaper. And I
Yeah.
remember as my mom passed, I was at 500 pounds. And I said, you know what? I need to take care of myself now. So I started to eat a little cleaner, got away. I said not completely because it's just sometimes it'd be like this. Like today, I went to my doctor's because I had to get checked out because I have a pacemaker, and
Mhm.
it went over some tests. This is the echo. I mean, there was some tests. Everything's pretty good, and then I had to pay a couple of bills, and then on my way home, and then there's a Chinese restaurant down the road. It's a buffet, and I couldn't help myself sometimes, Vicky. It's like I'm like it's a movie years ago, and this is for your time. It's called New Jack City. Chris Rock played a character called Pookie, and sometimes it be calling me, man. It be calling my name, be calling my name. But I understand the importance of eating clean because food can be both a tool and a weapon for the development as a bodybuilder.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, everything in bodybuilding is a tool to some extent, whether it's food, whether it's training, whether it's recovery, whether it's sleep, whether it's drugs. And I think what's going to be the make or break of anybody is going to be like how well you can respect those tools, right? If you completely restrict all of your food in a cut like to like zero, that's not going to be healthy. You're not going to get anything out of that. You're going to end up screwing yourself up worse, right? In a bulk, if you're like eating, like an idiot, eating like 10,000 calories of nothing but junk, like again, you're going to screw yourself up. If you're trying to chase higher and higher dosages because you think that's like going to make you like, get first versus second or something, that's
Mm-hmm.
not respecting, these tools that, deserve the respect, right?
Yeah, that's the thing is, it's like anything. The conversation I have with some ladies tell me to not just trust the process, but understand the process.
Yeah.
We understand it fully, then you can trust it. Understand all the factors involved with it, from your diet, from your training, to everything is just simple as getting a massage or just whatever gear or proteins you take. You have to be very meticulous when you're a bodybuilder. You just can't simply just okay, eat this, eat that. I remember one lady told me like she ate like 4 or 5 gelatos, for a show, and yeah, it's not good for you. You know, drink a lot of water. If you don't drink water, drink something that you know helps you in your process, so you won't dehydrate.
Yeah.
It's involved in it. So you don't have a coach, and that's one thing is a lot of people when they get into bodybuilding, they want to find somebody a coach. Are you thinking about getting one once you get started, or you feel like you need more time and just really work with your program?
Um, I feel like at the rate I'm progressing right now, physique wise, I think I'm good without a coach for now. But when it comes to posing, I definitely do feel like I need a coach for that. And I will be getting one um, when I get closer to my show.
Yeah. That's the most also a very important part about being a bodybuilder is posing because especially when you're doing divisions like physique and
Yeah.
figure or women's bodybuilding, you have to have a certain way to move and around because there's so many different poses. Like one lady I know, she's a friend of mine, she's Gina Kowski, she's a pretty good poser. There's Otto Cleveland, she does pretty good. There's one guy I think he's often talked about. That's Kenny Wallach. If you've heard of him, there's some great people who know what to do, how to move. And you start somebody who just they know enough of the stuff to help you out. That's good. And then
Mhm.
when you get to that next level, you say, you know what, I need to move on. There's a discussion about jumping from coach to coach, but sometimes it's about the situation and the people. When you find a coach that works for you, but then I mean, one lady I interviewed, she was with a coach for a long time, but when she hit to the pro level, she said, you know what, even though they had a good relationship, they've been together for a long time, she knew that she had to go to that next level and she needed to go to that next level coach.
Mhm.
Hmm. Yeah. So, in your travels in bodybuilding, what do you feel that's really something that you see that you think that can be better in your mindset for the sport?
Um, Something that I think can be better about the sport. Like in terms of the practice of it from the competitor standpoint, or in terms of like how it's organized at the institutional level, or both.
Well, I'm sorry, just everything.
Well, I think that if the IFBB and the NPCs, if they're serious about making bodybuilding more of a spectator sport rather than an athlete-driven one, um, they can't just say, hey, we want to make it more spectator-driven and then expect that it's going to happen magically. I think they got to like do. I don't know if they have anything planned right now. They're just not saying anything, but they definitely need to be doing more to make it a spectator-driven sport. Like something that I like to